Hello, I'm Bronnie Ware. Welcome to my channel. This video is going to take you inside our tiny home, and I'm going to share some of the mistakes I've had to learn by in the process of building this home. And when I say it's a tiny home, it's tiny in a literal sense. It's not a tiny home on wheels, but the building can be lifted up and moved somewhere else. But we've got it fixed down on concrete and steel pillars. So I'm looking forward to showing you inside. There's two buildings, one is the office and one is the house. And if your eagle eye with the drone has notices that there's no solar on there yet, that's the next step. And part of the reason I delayed with the solar was trying to decide which was the best system, and the house is made where I could connect gas for hot water and for cooking, but I've decided that I don't want to be dependent on fossil fuels ongoing. So it's taken a while to make that decision on which solar system, and that is the next step of the journey to get the power on. So the outside of it is what we call in Australia colour-bond steel, and the inside, all the walls are lined with Hempcrete, which you'll see in just a sec. And colour-bond is just an Australian name for, I'm sure there's other names for it in other countries, where it's just steel that you can choose the colour. The colour is blended into the steel. And yeah, so the outside's a colour-bond, the roof is tin roof, steel roof, and then inside is the beautiful Hempcrete finish on all the internal walls. It's been such an evolution buying this wild piece of earth, and it didn't even have wet weather access originally. So to watch that go from getting the driveway done and all the pieces that have led to this point has just been fantastic. So I can only look forward to all that comes from here. It's been challenging, but it's been amazing as well to bring an idea into reality and to create something from nothing but an idea. So yeah, I'm feeling very grateful for my courage, but also just grateful for so many things associated with this. So as you can see, there's some really solid footings underneath. These concrete and steel pillars go down for miles, absolute miles. The house building is, I think it's 19 tonne, so it's not going anywhere in a hurry. This is the house here, which we'll get to in a moment, and we'll go into the office. I just noticed a little bit of roo poo, fresh roo poo there. And that's since I've been out here last time, so the kangaroos have been hanging around. We'll have to share that space with them. Okay, so eventually we're going to have a deck between the two buildings, which will be fabulous, and we plan to do a lot of the cooking outside, and even in winter we'll have blinds that we can pull down to make that work. But for now, until we get the deck, which is not really the priority yet, I've chosen ramps rather than stairs. That's really just a personal choice for easier mobility. The screen doors on both buildings are fireproof, highly fire rated, as are all the windows, because as you can see, it is bushfire country, and I hope it's something we never have to deal with, of course, but it doesn't hurt to be prepared. And one of the beautiful things about Hempcrete is that it's also fireproof. So let's go inside into the office. Okay, so this building is 6 meters by, come on doggies, quick. This building is 6 meters by 3.4, which is the same size as a small shipping container, except a shipping container is 3 meters wide and these are 3.4, which is as wide as you can go without needing an escort vehicle. So if you ever wanted to move the buildings, it's a lot easier just to load it onto a truck without having, oh doggies, come on, without having to organise another. Come on, in and out, quick, out you go. Okay, so the colour is a personal choice, and something to note is that they're natural paints, and but going onto the Hempcrete, they're nowhere near as bright. They lose a lot of their shade. So it's Hempcrete is beautiful in its own raw form, its own natural colour form, but as a bit of a creative soul, I'm very much into colour. So as you can see, there's this rough, beautiful rough finish, very earthy, and it smells divine. The paints that we used were all natural paints, so there's no lingering smell of paint. And just the earthy feel of Hempcrete is amazing. And as well as being fireproof, it's also vermin proof. It's great for the planet, and it's such an amazing insulation. So as you can see, there's a very small fireplace there, but and it's the size. This is as large as we could go by law for this size building. So it's only tiny, and as you'll see, it's not the sort that you can throw a huge log in that will burn down all night. But because the Hempcrete is just so beautiful in its insulation, the use of the fire will be minimal. It will take the edge off from a freezing night, and yeah, we don't need huge, massive fires now because of how cosy it is. The windows are also double glazed, and for those in Europe, it's not nothing new, but in Australia, these are not the most common windows. So they open 2 different ways. You can open them that way, and again, we've got fireproof screens on the outside there. We get a lot of flies in Australia, so for summer, you need to have screens. And then when you turn the handle up the other way, it just opens from the top. So if it's a chilly day, and it does get well below freezing here in winter, then you can still have fresh air if you want it. And just turn the handle and that's it, it's locked again. So this is the office. And one of the mistakes I made, and it's really not one that I could have ever planned for, is that the window is a little bit high for where my desk will be. And come here, Donnie. Come on, quick. Come on, darling. Good girl. So the builder was a really tall guy, and I don't know if he's done these at his height or whether he just did it at a standard height. But compared to my old home, it's definitely a lot higher. And one of the biggest mistakes I've made in the whole thing was not knowing the questions to ask, and lack of communication, or again, not knowing the questions to ask. So we've got a fire alarm there, which by law we have to have. We also have a ceiling fan, but I've been here in the middle of summer, and it's just so cool and lovely, and we always get a breeze here anyway. So being a standalone building, it has to have its own fuse box. And so with my desk, you may think I could just have a standing desk, but I live with some challenges physically. So I have had a standing desk, but I ended up selling it because I couldn't use it as often as I wanted. And I'm quite attached to my little desk. It's a 1970s school desk. So what I'm probably going to have to do is put it on bricks. My chair goes up and down, but otherwise put it on bricks or get a brand new desk. Because at the moment when I'm sitting there, the view I get is about that, which is, you know, not the worst view in the world, but it's not that. And I think for me that was a bit heartbreaking to realise, because I spend a lot of time at my desk as an author and a vlog editor when I'm editing these. So that's something I have to factor in, how to lift my desk or whether to get a new desk, which I really don't want to do. So this space of 3 metres by 3.4 is about the size of the office room I had in our last house. So that's actually, half of that is huge actually, once you put the furniture in. If you're a well-organised person and you don't have a lot of crap, then it's easy. That's a big space for me. So what we're going to do is, on this side we will have a couple of office things, but my daughter plays piano. So there'll be a piano in here, and we'll probably add an extra lounge and a big armchair there. So this will be a second living room, which is fantastic for tiny home living. And also, if I've got my daughter and her teenage friends here, they're going to be able to have some space if 30 acres of wilderness is not enough. Okay, so we'll go over to the house. When I first saw the house, I actually thought it was a bit of an ugly duckling. And I feel like the windows look a bit small. And that space to the left of the door there seems really big and wasted. But more, I think the windows just looked a bit small. But once you're inside, or once I'm inside, the practicality of the house is fabulous. Most of it. There's a couple of things again that I would have done differently, and I'll share those with you. Got some wasps moving in there. So into the house. Come on, dogs. Pickles, come on down. So the difference between this and a lot of tiny homes is it's actually 2 bedrooms and 2 full-size bedrooms. Again, the paint is a totally different colour. This is my daughter's room and she wanted aqua. So keep that in mind if you're going to add colour to Hempcrete. But the feel and the smell is beautiful. So we have, this is facing north, which in Australia is where you get the best light, not in the south like up north. So she'll be looking out here, and that will be the deck as well, out there in time. And so she's got the north and the south with windows, so there'll always be a breeze comes through this building, through her room, and again the ceiling fan. We also went for really big storage space. We do have the shed out the back with cabinets out there for excess things. We don't actually keep a lot of excess because we live quite simply, and that's a part of tiny home living. But when you have a daughter whose main passion is fashion, she actually designed her wardrobe exactly how she wanted it. So we can use that space and up above for linen and things we need in the changing seasons. And I think that's really important to consider with tiny homes. The builder's done a fantastic job, and I love some of the unexpected finishes, like the drawers and the lovely wooden windowsills. Looking up to the hill where the sunset comes in up there. Okay. So we're going into the kitchen now, which has been a bit of a big learning curve for me, a really big learning curve. Again, we've got the little tiny fireplace, which will be plenty for this space because the Hempcrete is beautiful. This colour paint, it's not the same as in there. It looks almost the same, but it's not. It's just a soft green. I'm happy with that. I have no problem whatsoever. Same with the pink. I don't mind that it was different. This space here is the living area, and it fits a 2-seater couch, which is fine. We're only a little family. And most of our entertaining will be outside, and we, as I said, we have the other room over there in the office. So that's great. some of the mistakes we've made with the kitchen really comes down to a lack of communication, or lack of communication, I guess, or not knowing the questions to ask. This space is for our fridge, and it's a huge fridge, but that's actually by choice because we'll be living half an hour from the nearest village and an hour from the nearest town. So when we do shop, we generally shop big. Again, what I mentioned at the introduction about gas, it is set up for gas, but we're not going to use gas, we've decided. So the cooking will be done along here. It will be done on a countertop hot plate, 2 hot plates, and a small countertop oven. And in winter, the majority of our cooking will be outside on a fire pit. So that's fine, that's not an issue. And once we get the deck, we will cook out there. But that will be plenty for us. The main 2 things I'm disappointed with in the kitchen, and again, like I say, I didn't know the questions to ask, or there was a lack of communication, is this breakfast bar, which will fit 2 stools. I thought it actually came out from the wall here, was coming out to here. So I thought we had an extra cupboard there, and then we would be sitting either side here, so that it would come out at right angles to the wall, not extend along. So yeah, I thought it would be going out here, and then we would have had another cupboard there, and we could have had the stools tucked underneath and just pulled out. So I feel that this bit of space here is really not used in a way as well as what a kitchen cupboard, another kitchen cupboard would have been. But we live and learn, and we just have to get on with it. So the other thing is, there's no drawers. There's no drawers. I mean, I don't understand how that even happened, to be honest. I just assumed that drawers would be a part of the kitchen, and they're not. So what we're going to do is, because only one side of the sliding door is open, and again, they are really special, beautiful doors that are double glazed and made of all fire resistant stuff, so that's fantastic. But we've got this space here beside the doggy door to where the door opens, and we're going to put a cabinet there, and it will have drawers, and it will also house our saucepans and extra cooking things there. We also have the option of putting a narrow shelving thing, bookshelf or something along here for extra food. So the drawers and the breakfast bar are probably my hardest lessons in this. But once we get in and get settled, we're going to be absolutely fine. I've lived in tiny places before, and we live very simply, so it's not going to be a problem. So another thing I would have done very differently is, when we're sitting back here on the lounge, there is a TV point up there, if we wanted to put a TV up there, but we're never going to hook up to commercial TV that way. So I think that we're going to use this extra space in the office for any screen time, and this will be more family time on the lounge here. But what I think is one of the biggest mistakes in the design, and again, we only learn through our mistakes, is that it's a tiny home. Okay, so it's 12 meters by 3.4. So that's the same length as a large shipping container, but wider, 3.4, again, like the office. But that's still a really small space, especially when there's 2 bedrooms, 2 full-size bedrooms that we weren't really willing to negotiate on with size. So that means you lose what size you take for one room, you have to give up in another, and so the kitchen is what has suffered. And I think that if we had put, and it's just something I'm sharing in the hope that it will help you guys watching, if you're considering building small like this. If this door had been there in the hallway down there, then it would have opened up that end of the house a bit better, but it also would have given us a lot more kitchen space. So if we had have put windows there, we could have had a breakfast bar and benches or benches all the way across here and then gone out there, because I feel that it's a real waste of space having a hallway in a tiny home. The only thing is, of course, that if we have that whole area blocked and we're sitting down about here, then we wouldn't get as much of the lovely view, because a lot of it would be blocked by cupboards. So, you know, we live and learn. But having a hallway in a tiny home, I think it's a little bit of a lost bit of space. So down the hallway, and this is the fuse box. Again, it has to have its own fuse box, being a standalone building. And into the bathroom, which we've gone for a composting toilet because of water. Drought really shaped my childhood. The toilet system we decided on is called Green Loo CF4. It's actually huge underneath. It's almost as big down underneath as on top there. So it won't need emptying very much at all. And then once we get the solar on, that pipe there, the one on the ground, will attach to this one and be attached to the back of the building there, which will take any smells up and out. There'll be a small fan running 24/7, and so it just takes anything straight up. On top of that, we also have hemp grass. You can use sawdust or wood chips, that sort of thing. But in our case, we've got a bag of hemp straw, so which you put in after you've used the toilet. And then we just have the cabinet there. So a bit of storage space there, the towel rack, and a full-size shower. So that's all great, that's all fine. We've got a fan up on the roof, and we've got those lovely windows again. Now, one of the other mistakes, which was a hard one to accept as well, is that while the builder asked me the size of my fridge, the size of my washing machine was never discussed. And it's my, you know, it is what it is. But my existing washing machine is a great washing machine and would have fitted there fine had the taps been put up a little bit higher. So instead I have to buy a new washing machine, and thankfully there are small ones that will fit there, so that's okay. But it does seem like a waste of money and resources to have to sell off my other washing machine and buy a new one when my existing one would have fit here perfectly. So yeah, we live and learn. The thing with the water, even if the taps were higher, it wouldn't have made much difference, because all the water is coming from rainwater tanks outside, which means an electric pump will turn on automatically every time we turn a tap on. So yeah, we could have gone higher taps. Anyway, one of those things. And just a sliding door here for a bit of privacy, and that's a good use of space here. Sliding doors are handy in small spaces. And then this goes into the main bedroom, which has the north view again. So we'll always get a breeze coming through there. And then the east view, which was a personal choice because I like to wake up to the sunrise. So we get the sunrise on this side. And two 23,000 litre rainwater tanks, which are already catching the runoff from the shed and the house. So this room actually fits a king-size bed and two bedside tables, small bedside tables. That was a non-negotiable for me. Sleep is a real priority, especially if you live with pain as I do. And I've also been homeless, so my bed is my sanctuary, and I wasn't willing to sell it and go smaller. So as I said, we have to sacrifice. So if I wanted this huge room, then the kitchen had to suffer. But because we plan on living outside more with dining and socialising, it's really not going to be a problem. Again, we've got the large built-in wardrobes, and we've got the space up the top to put things that we don't want out in the shed. And this is a huge use of storage. I've brought one pair of boots in already. That's the first thing in the room, a pair of boots. Okay. And the lock on the door is just a personal choice, so that if we're ever away and we have house sitters here, dog sitters, we'll set them up in my daughter's room or over in the office, and I can keep this as a private sanctuary. I'm not real keen on other people sleeping in my bed. Okay, so that's the house inside, and the kitchen is gorgeous, and I really believe it will work fine. I just have to get that extra cupboard down and then get the stools there. I was just a bit shocked that with the breakfast bar taking all that space from the wall when it could have actually come out, and I was a bit surprised not to have drawers. One thing I will point out is the good use of shelving here. So this is a very narrow cupboard to accommodate the size of the fridge. So at least that can be used well. And the other one is this, which is great. So even though it's a small space, this part of it is very practical. And so we can put any food in there, or however we choose to use it, and we can access everything. And so that means, though, there's no bending down, reaching into that far corner, hoping there's not food there left from 15 years ago. So that's it there. It comes across, so it slides in like that, and perfect. And yeah, we just go back outside, and the deck will run from there across. Probably all this area that you can see has been levelled. Most of that will become a deck, which will make it a huge living area. But that's not the priority. And there's a clothesline outside there. There's a screen door. That's called a Hills Hoist, which is a brand in Australia that's been around longer than I have. So it's been around a long time. And then back up there to the hill, we have the incredible sunsets from up there and the 360-degree view. And sunrises we get from up there as well as from these rocks here. I plan on watching some from there. So thank you for joining me on the tour, and I hope you've enjoyed it and learnt things from it. I'm going to be sharing the evolution of this home and our beautiful acreage. If you'd like to follow along, see some beautiful wilderness of Australia. We're on 30 gorgeous acres here, and there's a lot of wildlife as well. So please subscribe and follow along and enjoy the evolution of this whole space with me. I'd love to share it with you.